Hey guys, welcome back to the Dumont RA-102 console television restoration project, better known as the Clifton. Let's spend a little bit of time talking about service info. I started out by using this publication which came from Dumont. I scored it, I think, at an Antique Radio Club of Illinois Radio Fest swap meet some years ago. I remember when I first got this set, I showed this off in some of the photos with it, saying, hey, it has the RA-102, I'm in good hands. However, it's for the B2 and the B3. That's not what I have. I have the B1, which is the earlier version, which has the focus control behind the removable front cover. Later sets, they put it in the main instrument cluster and they expose the knob. I imagine because people needed to adjust it more regularly than they originally anticipated, so they made it more accessible. So this is not right for my set. Now, they're probably 99+% the same, but if I don't want to get tripped up, I should really use the right service info. And there's not a whole lot in here. You get a schematic, you get a parts list, and some waveforms, and that's it. And then jump onto the 103, and even with the 103 they do the C and the D, there's no A and B, so they were really focusing on the most common Dumont sets. Alright, that's not going to do it. But what else do we have? But luckily, we have two other resources. One, Riders. It's in Riders Volume 1. I picked this up some time ago, and I haven't looked at it in a long time. Mine appears to be incomplete. It certainly is not in proper order, which should be alphabetical. So near the front we have Philco. It's jumping around. But I did find the 102, but I have pages 1-49 and 50, which is a schematic, and nothing else. Now, I'll keep looking through it, but on the page before we have Certified and Belmont, some more obscure radios, and then Westinghouse. As I say, they should be alphabetical. And it most definitely is not. Then Stromberg, Philco, Hallicraft, just jumping all over U.S. television Viewtone. So I think what happened is at some point, these are made to come apart so you can take out service info what you're working on. As this got all jumbled up and crammed back in here. Now, what might be in my favor, or what I hope is in my favor, is that there can't be a whole lot missing because of how fat it is. So maybe it's just in here and jumbled around. There is... well, the later editions of this came in a larger form factor, but the early version was at 8.5 by 11. I think Volume 2, it comes in both a big and a large, a larger and a smaller page size, but I think Volume 1 only comes in the smaller page size. And because of that, some of these schematics are all folded up and kind of, ooh, hey, and crammed in here. Here's RA-101. Then it jumps to Emerson. So, well, at least I got a big full-out section for the RA-101, which I'll probably never have my hands on. Garrett, Farnsworth, Motorola VK, Dependent Television. So I'll keep looking. Now, if I can't find it in here, at least it's scanned and it's available on the Early Television Foundation Museum's website, as well as something I'm about to show you. So I reference this website all the time, earlytelevision.org. Let's start on the home page where they are announcing the annual convention. I highly recommend you attend. I will be doing a presentation on the RR-359 in the afternoon on Friday. There should be some really amazing stuff there, because unfortunately a well-known big-time collector passed away and he donated sets to the museum, including a bunch of early color sets, some really rare stuff. Ooh, including one of the theater production sets. John Folsom is a gentleman's name. Yeah, he was a huge figure in the community. Sadly, he passed away not too long ago, but at least some of, if not all of his collection is in good hands. So When I go there, I will be recording footage in between helping run the event and doing a presentation myself, and I will try to get a better look at some of these, especially this theater projection set, which I posted a whole bunch of info on recently. All right, well, enough about that. Let's get back to the point here. If you go up to the top and go to post-war TV and go down to technical information, sorry, battery died. If you go to post-war TV technical info, you get into this, which includes a bunch of very useful stuff, including a rider's index of TV service data where you can look up models and chassis numbers and it'll tell you what volume it's in. Some rider receiver trouble cures, volume 1 through 7, which has tips and tricks for improving performance of your television. And then we have an alphabetical list of sets where they have scanned various service info. Let's go to Dumont, and we have a row here for the RA-102. So there's Riders Volume 1, that's what I was just looking for, as service notes and a service manual. Let's check that out. So this is the original Dumont service manual, which I think will come in real handy, and that is a fantastic resource to have right from the horse's mouth, so to speak. So we get a little bit of specifications here. 420 watts in TV mode, 295 watts if you just want to listen to the radio. That translates to almost 4 amps in television mode and almost 3 amps in radio mode, with a whopping 2.5 watts of undistorted sound output. And we cover 44 to 216 megacycles. Input impedance 72 ohms. Yeah, it's interesting. These Dumont sets actually have a early type of coax system. It's not 75 like the later standard, but it's also not the 300 balanced input either. You can actually feed a coax signal right into these. You see the IF frequencies it uses. A little bit different. I'm used to seeing 21.25 or more recently 21.3 in the Zenith for the audio. They use 21.9 and 26.4 for TV. And the AM tuner 456. I wonder if they're just rounding things off a little bit. Anyway, what do we get? Looks like about 25 pages of info. So theory of operation, fantastic. A list of all the tubes. Block diagram, circuit description, parts locator. Fantastic. I should have everything I need between these various sources of info. Alright, let's start down here. Here's our power coming in. You got an AC interlock, got some line filter caps. Got a socket because the power switch is going to be on the top chassis, so the power's got to go out through that up to the power switch and then back down through here to the primary. Big old honking transformer here. It's several hundred watts, feeding a trio of 5U4s. Got a couple different voltages out. These two are paralleled up. That one is on its own with slightly lower secondary voltage on it. Alrighty, and then up here is the fun part, the high voltage supply, which consists of a 6SN7 dual triode, a transformer, I believe that's a blocking oscillator type transformer. We've got a gaseous discharge tube for a voltage reference, and we've got an 807 power tube and a control voltage setting. Then over here we have a coil and an 8016, which is a 1B3 high voltage rectifier. This is our high voltage coil. And down here we've got 180 meg resistor. It's actually 12 15 meg resistors in series. And that samples the high voltage output and divides it down. And then we go into a regulator control that feeds back into this. So not quite like a color set with a shunt regulator, but it accomplishes something similar. So on the lower voltage side, we've got a voltage reference. We're taking a sample of the output and dividing it way down like a high voltage probe would do to get it down to something reasonable, and we're feeding that back in. So voltage reference, feedback from the output, which controls how much power is coming out of this 807 and going into it. It probably controls the amplitude on the output of this oscillator. I don't think, or either that or it affects the bias on this tube. So we got a regulator control and then a voltage control. I imagine this interacts somewhat. But that is how they accomplish a regulated high voltage output, which should be 10 kilovolts. That would be very cool to see in operation. I kept digging through that riders, and I do have the entire thing. In fact, I think my riders volume is complete. I think it's just laid out oddly in that they have a section of fold-out schematics towards the front with just the schematic, and then later on it is alphabetical, and they do have the detailed breakdown. So I've got everything. And I'm pretty sure this is a reprint of the original Dumont service info, so I'm pretty sure this is just identical to what's available on the Early Television Foundation website scan, but it's nice to have a very legible hard copy of it. So this is what I will be working off of. This definitely has a schematic for the earlier version. And here they just show the two versions. So there's the earlier version with no focus, and the later version with the 6th focus knob up top.